Good afternoon. Tom Nowetner here, the conversationalist. Like, subscribe, comment to me. I enjoy your comments. It's very interesting the take people have on the same subject. And share this. I had got a really good share this week and got about like 87, 87 hits. So that was pretty nice. Got one thing personal I need to get out there. Billy Testani, a good friend of mine for the last 50 years, died this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. He died in his sleep. Uh, Billy was one of those guys who had your back and was funny as any comedian you could ever imagine. A great guy, great guy. One of those guys that you never had to ask. He was always there. I'm going to miss Billy Testani. Anyway, let's get to the subject at hand. And the subject at hand is lies. We have, what, 8 days in a wake up? No, 7 days in a wake up for our voting, right? Do you understand the number of absentee ballots and advance ballots and votes that have been placed before Election Day? I mean, there's centers that are taking votes right now in New York State and many other states. You don't have to absentee ballot. You go into these places, early voting centers like the library here, and actually vote on a ballot and stuff it in the machine. So we're voting now for like 45 days here in New York State. I don't know what your state is, but let me say the number of ballots that they sent out and the number of ballots that are being returned have no accountability. You can take this ballot, go down to Kinko's or whoever's got a copier, FedEx, UPS, and make copies all you want. Let me get that back to you. You can literally make copies of this absentee ballot and send it into different polling booths, polling stations throughout the state. Is this crazy? Am I the only one who sees the problem here? Oh my goodness. Also, that's a big lie, right? Here's an even bigger lie. The money that the PACs and all these groups that are supporting not only Kamala Harris, but Trump are underreporting the amount of money they're sending into the campaigns by millions of dollars. Let me say that once again. Millions of dollars are in this campaign that nobody's accounting for. Look, I'm 73 years old. I voted my whole life. This is the worst election that I've ever participated in. And I am going to vote, vote, vote. That way you got a dog in the fight. And if they don't do what you say, you vote them out. That is your power. That is your superpower. That's your power as an American. Do you understand how passionate I can be about the one true entity we have to work our government? Because once they get up there and they get a taste of insider trading, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the rest of them, they no longer work for us. They work for the PACs. They work for the big corporations. You've got middle management working for themselves, keeping them in business. The secretary comes and goes, the assistant secretary comes and goes, but the bureaucrats are there. And every increasing budget, do you know that every entity of the federal government is required to be audited? You know that? And there's audits everywhere. You can it's actually published documents, but nobody looks at them because they've got them constructed in a way you can't read them. You have to be an accountant specializing in government minutia to understand. But the one thing I do understand is the amount of money on the last page isn't accounted for. If you just look at the amount of money that's not accounted for at the Pentagon, CIA, FBI, Homeland Security, FEMA, you will be shocked. Just let's take Homeland Security. The amount of supplies that they have pre-positioned across the country, no one is understanding that they don't last forever. So they pre-position these supplies, they go bad, and they rock sell them to some dump or some corporation that's going to resell them to some market on the street of Dubai, not Dubai, Mozambique or wherever. You understand what's going on? It's a big payoff system. You have people in Asheville, North Carolina right now, where FEMA walked in and said, fill this form out, we'll give you $750. $750. Meanwhile, we're giving immigrants $2,000 on a debit card every month, plus housing, plus health care, and we're looking for jobs for them. People in Asheville and Chimney Rock and Western North Carolina get $750. These are the people, their houses are buried under 17 feet of mud and trees and cars. They found their relatives in trees. You still got over 100 people not accounted for. So FEMA says, here's $750,000. Do you know that the nonprofit agencies are doing more for Western North Carolina than FEMA and the federal government? Do you understand that? Volunteer organizations are doing more in Western North Carolina than our federal government. Wake up, people. It's lying. They're lying to you. They're lying to you about everything, small things, big things, things you don't even understand or know about because they keep it a secret from you. And that's the lie. They're doing it and you don't even have a clue that they're doing it. We have politicians on secret committees overseeing the CIA and the FBI and GSA and all these three-letter agencies. Do you ever get a report from them? Does anything come out on them? Nah, it's a rubber stamp system. It's a rubber stamp system. Now, listen to me. It's important. The FBI, when it was organized way back in the 30s, was an organization to protect us from the communists and the Nazis and whomever else. But it turned into a blackmail organization. Let's call it for what it is. It was a bunch of documents on government and celebrities and anybody that Hoover was worried about. After that, they just lied and lied and lied more. The CIA was developed to lie. At one time, they only lied to our enemies to get information, but now they lie to the American people. You understand? This is an agency that their main concern, their ability to lie to everyone. Their black budget is more than their published budget. And nobody sees it. Nobody knows how it's spent. Where's government services? Where's the auditing end of our government? Who's following the trail of money? And I'm not talking billions, I'm talking trillions. Present administration has us up to trillions of dollars in debt. And it's published on a lie. They're printing this money on a lie that it's making our lives better. Is it making your life better? The lie is, don't worry about $4 dozen eggs or $5 dozen eggs and $5 pounds of butter and $5 gallons of milk, because it's all going to come out in the wash. We're going to give you $6,000 at tax time and $2,500 for childcare and $1,400 for trimming your toenails. You understand how ridiculous this shit is? Meanwhile, the American people are going, yeah, I like Harris because she's going to give me everything but the moon and the stars. Oh, I like Trump because he's American first. Lies, lies, lies. If you don't understand that, look it up. Go down the rabbit hole yourself. You'll be as angry as I am about the lies we're being told. You are Americans. I don't care if you're Asian, Spanish, black, white, midget, the tallest person in the world, the fattest person in the world. I don't care if you ride a motorcycle or a moped. I don't care if you run a electric vehicle or a gas guzzler or you go around on a bike. I'm not talking about individuals. Now, I'm talking about the American people that are being lied to, and you guys are sitting there with your head in the clouds saying, oh, this is going to be great. I'll vote for Harris. She'll solve all the money problems. She's going to restrict the increases on food. Do you know that's happened before? And when they took the restrictions in, everything doubled in price. Do you know when they did the supportive housing back in the 70s? Nobody was buying houses because nobody would sell. And then when they did take it off, the controls, everything spiked. We're repeating this, guys. If you don't know your history, you're going to repeat it. It's as simple as that. I don't know. This is the first time. I usually vote the least worst. Isn't that terrible? Here I am, 73 years old, and pretty much before Kennedy was clear. But after Kennedy, it was the least worst. After Kennedy, he died in 1963. This is 2024. Since 1980, the politicians have become professional politicians. They know how to milk the system. They lie, lie, lie to each and every one of their constituents to get reelected. And then they go do whatever the hell they want because we don't vote them out. Look, I know I might be ranting into the wind. I know that most people are not going to take this to heart. But if I could reach like a half a dozen of you guys and you would all carry the same story, maybe we could do something. And when I say a half a dozen, I mean it. A half a dozen people talk to a half a dozen more, it builds. Okay. If you share my video, I know I want you to like it. I want you to comment on it, but I want you to share it. Get it out there. Let me take the heat. You just have to say, hey, listen to this wacko or listen to this guy. Share it. I'll take the heat. They can comment to me. They can write me. They can, I don't know, whatever the internet entails. And I'm brand new here, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But I'm telling you right now, I do know the ins and outs of life. I've seen all this. I know where it's going. When you vote in 7 days and wake up, you're going to have a president, whether it's Trump or it's Harris or it's none of the above. The country is split. Now, it all depends what polls you want, right? And I used to think polls were great until I realized how they can be manipulated, not only by who they ask, but, stats are one of those things. You can make any number fit what you want it to say. I learned that in accounting. Anyway, so you got this brand new president walking through the door because One's a vice president and one's a former president. So there's a new president in the office, as far as I'm concerned. You got one guy who is ultra right, and you got one lady who is ultra left, and you got the country split down the middle. And both of these people are lying to you, because when they get in the office, they're going to do whatever they want. It's the biggest lie that's being perpetrated on the American people. Do you get it now? Do you understand where I'm going with this? I'm 15 minutes into this broadcast, and I'm already set to say, hell with it. Nobody cares anymore. You have to understand that the day after the election and that month between election day and inauguration, and then the day after inauguration, is going to be a very dangerous time in the country. And I don't say that lightly. I want everybody, especially our older American citizens, to understand that these factions, not only do they disagree, but they hate each other. I mean, hate each other to the core of their marrow of their bones. And if your candidate loses, what are you going to do? If your candidate wins, what are you going to do? Is it going to be celebrations in the street? Or is it going to be rioting and burning down of cities? Already Texas is talking about goodbye United States. You know, we are on the precipice of the most terrible time in American history since the Civil War. We have the capacity within each group to annihilate the other group over and over and over and over again. You know, we have all these trained people, trained by the military. They know how to knock out an Abrams tank, Mr. Biden. They know how to knock down a jet. They know how to disable it so it doesn't get off the ground. 3 bullets. That's all it takes. 3 bullets. You have to understand where I'm going, because it's important to you as an individual who's going to make a decision and vote for another individual who's going to run this country for the next 4 years, or maybe longer. Because I don't know. I have this gut feeling that if Trump gets in, he'll become king of the United States for what, 8 years, 12 years. And I know that, we have, rules and constitutional law and all that stuff. He doesn't care. He's the commander in chief. He runs the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and the Air Force. You get it? Even if he gets 20% of the military on his side, that's enough to declare martial law and stop all elections. Is it legal? No. Is it right? No. But I have this gut feeling that I don't know. He's not the Trump I voted for 4 years ago. He's not the Trump I voted for 8 years ago. He's a different man. He's angry. He's vengeful. He scares me. Kamala Harris, absolutely an idiot. I'm sorry. The woman does not know how to put a sentence together. Her policies are coming right out of Hillary Clinton's mouth and Obama's mouth. And you know what Obama did for us? Nothing. Absolutely. He didn't even do anything for the black people, which is what he wrote rode on to the White House, and he still screwed over him. You got Hillary Clinton, the murderer. Anybody who disagreed with her wound up dead. Look it up. She even killed her own people. She killed. Oh, never mind. You have to beware. And that's what I'm coming to. The lies are building, they're stacking like cordwood. And nobody's pulling the wood down and saying, well, let me look at this. Is this true? Is this not true? Because the things that Trump said on Joe Rogan's show were terrible. The things that Harris said on her town hall meeting were terrible. They were divisive. They were actually pitting people against one another, different groups. That scares the hell out of me. As a 73-year-old man with practically no function in my legs, I'm the most vulnerable. Anybody over the age of 65 is vulnerable. Now, I don't want to blow your cork here, but you better get ready. Get a crayon in the wall and write this down. It takes people to produce your Social Security check. Even though they say it's automatic, it's not. It takes a certain amount of people to get that in your bank account. If unrest comes and the banks close, what are you going to do? If the truck drivers say no pay, no supplies. If the stevedores say, well, look, guys, maybe you ought to give us another $25 an hour so we'll move these containers. Because everybody's in it for themselves. Trump is, Harris is, all the bureaucrats are. It's going to be that predatory instinct is going to come out. And everybody has it. I don't care if you're the Dalai Lama. Somewhere back in that primordial brain of yours, self-survival is the most important thing to you when the shit hits the fan. And I don't see how it can't be that way, because you have these two factions, and I'm breaking it probably 30 factions, but I'm breaking it down to Harris's people and Trump's people. Either group can bring down this country, can bring it to a standstill. A person with a laptop sitting in their mother's basement can shut down the electrical grid. You understand this? A kid with a 22 rifle, like my dad got me when I was 10 years old. 22 rifle, didn't even have a scope on it. Had iron sights. You had to really aim to get something. Can take out whole transformers with one bullet. A kid. All he's got to do is hide in the woods, get up when nobody's around, hit an insulator, the whole thing shuts down. And then it's cascading. You understand? One falls, another one takes over, but it's overpowered, so it trips offline because it doesn't want to get damaged. So the next one takes over, but that trips off because there's. You understand? I was here in the 70s when the blackout came, and some places were 5 days, and some places were 7 days without food in the middle of a summer heat wave, and people in New York City were piling bodies in the curbs. People were dying, and they literally piled them in, outside. And they were taking them away in sanitation trucks. People were stealing food from one another. They were looting to survive, just to get food for their family. Well, there was a lot of people that were looting TVs, whatever else, but you're always going to have those people. But those are the people that are going to generate the most interaction. The people who are out there for themselves, the people who say, frog this. I'm grabbing everything I can. This is my right. This is what I deserve. They're doing the same thing with Harris. They're saying to her, look, this is what the American people need. I'm on Social Security. I get paid $11.83 an hour, if you break it down. Minimum wage is what, 15 to 20 bucks? Well, it depends which McDonald's you work at. Can you understand why I'm trying to get you to think about lies and understand that the lies are driving the narrative? And when lies drive a narrative, it's dangerous. It is absolutely the end of the road. All right, so it's a day after inauguration. Harris wins. She starts giving away the farm. And that group is very happy. But what's with the Trump group? Now, I'm not stereotyping anybody, but the Trump group, they're so right wing, some of them, they scare me. And I am a libertarian. I'm a conservative libertarian. I believe in small federal government, state government. I believe in minimum taxation. Right now, you get taxed when you get your paycheck, but you also get taxed when you buy the gas to go home. You also get taxed at the grocery store. See, you're getting taxed on the same money before you get home, maybe 4 or 5 times. That's a realization to a lot of people. They don't understand that. Look, 27 minutes into this. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. But this time, mostly share. I'm asking you to take this video as wide as it can go. Not for my sake, but for your sake. I'm 73 years old. 2 years ago, my daughter, who's an RN, a very smart chickie, taught me how to use a smartphone. Until then, I had a Katana flip phone. You had to press the same button 3 times just to get a letter out. Isn't that scary? That's just 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I didn't know how to turn the computer on. Today, when the power went out here, I was downstairs doing a program check to get the cells working to power the house. Before, I would have just called her at work and said, come home and do this. And for the last, I think it's 7 weeks now, I've been on the air talking to you. By the grace of God, he put Josh, the Wizard of Oz, in my path. I've always been that guy who, if it was in my head, it was out my mouth. And I paid the price for that quite often. But I always stayed true to myself and to the people around me. It was important to me to be that strong masculine figure and understand that I have a place in this world. And because I'm 73 years old and have all these experiences, I'm not talking about reading it. I'm not talking about watching a YouTube video on it. I lived it. I lived it when Kennedy got shot. I was there to see the transition for the Great Society. I lived through the Vietnam War, the Iraq War. We went into Iraq and Afghanistan on a lie. A lie. Millions of Arab people from the region died. Millions. We dropped these bombs that were horrendous into caves, and we don't still know how many people because the caves collapsed. We wiped whole cities off the map. because of a lie. Dick Cheney's lie. And all the rest of them, they're lies. Saddam Hussein has nuclear weapons. Weapons of mass destruction. We got to go over there and save the world. Well, guess what? The French, the British, the Russians, they were all over there. They all got their asses kicked and put out. Guess what? The Americans got their ass kicked and put out too. And I know you guys that wave the flag are going to say differently, and you vets from Afghanistan, but take it from a Vietnam era person. You didn't take anything. You didn't win anything. You just got a lot of Americans killed. And I'm talking about the senior staff, not the grunt on the ground. I'm talking about the people that make the real decisions. You went over there on a lie and you got a lot of people killed, both Arabs and Americans. You put a lot of money into it. The military complex was very happy to supply you with bullets and bombs and tanks and AMRAAMs and everything else. They're making money hand over fist while the American people are going poor in a war that we should never have been in. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback on that, but I'm sorry, guys. The truth is the truth. And until you tell yourself this simple truth and you stop lying to yourself, we're not going to make a change. There's going to be no change. There's not going to be a difference from 4-year cycles. We're just going to vote in the least worst. But this least worst is at its peak. These are two people that I don't want to see in office at all. And that's a scary place for a 73-year-old to be. Now, I've always, I was raised by parents that went through the Depression and World War II. And, my wife's a bit of a hoarder, and I've always canned and kept a big pantry in the basement. In fact, I always had two kitchens, the the good, nice kitchen upstairs and the real kitchen downstairs, what we called the summer kitchen, because we didn't want to put heat in the house because, we didn't have air conditioning back in the 50s and 60s. And if you did, you were lucky. We had the breeze, open the window, put the fan in front of a block of ice. You, on the other hand, have all these luxuries. You have everything at your fingertips. Can I give you a shock? You put one child in daycare for 1 year is between $14,000 and $18,000. $14,000 and $18,000 off the top of your pay for childcare. And everybody's going, well, why don't people want to go back to the office? They stay at home. And why do we have all these problems with our children? Because we have other people raising our children. In school, they are not taught arithmetic, writing, reading, like I was taught. Now we teach socialization and being kind to one another and being safe and being acceptant. Problem is, we have a group of people who cannot make decisions because they've never had to be in a situation where they had to make decisions. All the decisions have been kept from them. They've been kept in their safe space. We have all these people in America, and I'm talking 25, 30 and under, who have never, ever had to push themselves through a terrible situation. Now, I know some people have been in horrendous situations and they survived. I'm talking the majority of people. You understand? We forgot somewhere along the line that children, and I'm speaking children 30 and under, had to be taught how to make decisions and what to do if you made a bad decision and what you need to do to correct that decision. It's survivable. I'm 73 years old. I've made more wrong decisions in my life than right ones. But I was taught the more you do, the better off you're going to be, even in failure. Nobody wants to be a failure nowadays. Everybody wants a corner office with $100,000 salary, 6 weeks off, Mercedes Benz, and the best looking woman on YouTube. Or my what is that? My fans? What is it? Josh, help me out. What's that called?
OnlyFans, I think you're
OnlyFans.
mentioning.
Yeah, God help me, Jesus. God help me, Jesus. Guys, take a look at yourself in the mirror. You're not getting tens. You'll be lucky if you get fours. So change your attitude. Don't lie to yourself. Back to the lies. Find a woman that you get along with, that understands you, that will put up with you. And then when you get to 65 years old, put her on a week to week contract. Make her work for that spot. Boy, I'm not going to get pushed back by that. But that's another story. And Josh probably put up a video on that one. But understand, I married a good woman. I didn't marry the best woman. I didn't marry the most beautiful woman. I didn't marry the most rich woman. I didn't marry the most successful woman. I married the woman I could talk to. The one that was strong enough and smart enough to push back when I was wrong. That's what you need in a woman because you can marry a knockout 10. And I guarantee you in 10 years, she's going to be a knockout 6. And in 25 years, she might be bordering 4. She's going to be good looking for her age, guys. And women, I got to talk to you. This stuff about body counts. We had loose girls and we had girls that we took out to dinner and dancing and roller skating and bowling, and they were marriage material. Now everybody's looking, women are looking for the rich guy who's a 10, who's got a super job, and he flies off to wherever, Monte Carlo, every other weekend. Guys are looking for that stunning 6 foot, all legs, beautiful model type that is going to, just by having her, it's going to enhance his life. Wrong! You're lying to yourself. You have to first find somebody that will put up with you. If you think I'm making this up, look, I'm here today because of my wife. Not in spite of her, because of her. My friends who have long-term marriages will all tell you that their wives were not the first choice. You go through this period where you got to have that knockout. You want that on your arm so when you walk into the club, and I'm talking disco clubs here in the 70s, she's got a wraparound dress on that's barely staying closed. And every guy in the place is drooling. Yeah, you go through that phase. But sooner or later you find out that that's temporary. You're lying to yourself through the whole time, but you better believe that it's temporary. You better understand that you have to live with this person 24/7. You have to have a relationship more than a beauty contest. Stop lying to yourself. You don't need the biggest house on the block. You need a comfortable house, someplace that's cool in the summer and warm in the winter that meets your needs. If you got 2 kids, you need 3 houses and 2 bathrooms. And if you're I mean, three bedrooms and two bathrooms. If you're smart, the children and the husband take one bathroom and give the other bathroom to your wife. That will make your marriage much more successful if you don't share your wife's bathroom. Take it to, I look, I was sitting there with God, you know, I was young, and God picked up a bunch of this stuff off the ground and he said, "Yo, Tom, what is this?" I go, "Yo, God, that's dirt." He says, "Good name." That's how long I've been married. And never once did I say to myself, I can do better. My first wife, totally crazy. Out of the box, crank the handle, jack in the box, crazy. I don't know why I hit a home run with my second wife, but don't look behind the curtain, wizard. Yo, Wizard of Oz. Nobody gets in to see him. Not nobody. All right. Look, I got 19 minutes left on this hour, and I would really want to drive home a lot of things, but I don't want to over publish this or over speak on this. I've told you where the lies are coming from. I told you what the lies are. Do you understand how important it is that the first thing you develop is a researching mind, a mind that takes in the words and says, wait a minute, let me go down the rabbit hole. Let me fact check this just for my own sake. Because you're going to make a decision in 7 days and a wake up on who's going to be our next president. And if you're making that decisions on lies, it's a bad decision. And we'll all pay for it. Now, get back to it. I don't think either decision is right, so I don't know what to tell you to do. Tell you the truth, I'm going to knuckle down between election day and inauguration. You're not going to see me, but on the internet, I'm going to live between the house, the barn, and hunting. I'm not even going to go fishing because I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not lying to you here. I'm telling you the truth. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't. I don't have a a vision of the future. I have questions because everybody I hear out there talking, not only candidates but their people like Musk and whomever else, Hillary Clinton and Obama and Mike. Uh, Mike's out there, you know, sounding like she's stomping for her husband. You can't do anything about the election right now. It's set in stone. Unless somebody gets killed or, God forbid, or something major happens, like, I don't know, some crisis in the Middle East, which can happen. Right now, we got Israel and Palestine and Lebanon and Jordan. They're all fighting over there, but the mainstream media is lying to you. They're not telling you that there's now four countries involved. Plus, you got Iraq way over on the other side of the world sending missiles over. So maybe five countries. And Egypt saying, we don't want the Palestinians. Every time they come here, they cause problems. Lebanon saying the same thing. Jordan's saying the same thing. So you got all these people bottled up in this little area, and the Arabs are going, Israel is disgusting for doing this. But you won't let them into your country. You won't save the babies and the children and the wives because you don't want that hassle in your country. And the mainstream media is lying to you. They're lying to you about the election. They're lying to you about polls. They are lying even when it's not necessary. Scary, isn't it? We live in a country built on lies. We're doing an election built on lies. What are you going to do about it? I'm ringing the bell. I'm holding up the lantern. This is your light at the end of the road. It's not a train. It's a light that says, wake up, America, and decide what you want for the next 4 years, what you want for the next 8 years. Do you want America back, or do you want it to be run by all these full-time politicians and that are minions to all these corporate entities? 6 corporations own the whole world, and one of them is the Catholic Church. Look it up. Google it. 6 corporations own the whole NASDAQ, all the pharmaceuticals. You see what happens? I call these people the bean counters because all they do is come in with a bunch of money and buy up companies. So let's go down the lies. Let's deal with the first big lie, McDonald's. Big industrial farm. Industrial farm. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's a bunch of bean counters that come in with a lot of money and they buy up all these little farms and they put them into this corporate entity and they process it all through one plant, which McDonald's bought 90% of. So if you've got a client like that, how can you lose? However, the first thing the bean counters do is cut back on sanitation because that's it. Why should we spend money on that? And then the federal government cuts back on inspectors. Do you understand that? Where there was full-time inspectors 24/7, now you got a guy who walks through the place once or twice a week. Same thing with the meat industry and the egg industry. These big corporate entities have bought them up. I remember there was an article, this is probably 2 years ago. United Airlines said if we take one olive off of every salad that we serve, we can save like millions of dollars. One olive. What does that tell the American people? We're not worth 2 olives on our salad? You're already making money hand over fist, but you're going to take an olive out of the salad just to make a couple more $1,000,000. They're lying to us about airline safety, about car safety. They're lying to us about e-bikes. Around here, I don't know if you know, nobody parks these new electric bikes in their barns or garages because they're all starting fires. And you'll burn your garage or your barn or your shed down. Everybody just parks them outside and trains them to a tree because we've had a lot of fires from these e-bikes. The safety was exaggerated so that we would buy them. They don't care about your safety. They're just going to, it's called marketing. They're going to lie to you until you buy it. They're marketing the lie, not the product. It's a scary place in America right now. You have an obligation. You have a superpower. You can vote and you can control how you vote and who you vote for. And then you can control who you vote out or in the next time. You know how many people don't know that? They don't know how important their vote is. People who don't ever vote. I know people who are 50 years old and never voted. My daughter has not voted. She's 26 or 27. I still haven't had to talk with her. I'm afraid of her. I'm afraid she'll come up with a rational reason. And then what do I do? The all knowing isn't all knowing. How am I going to argue that point when she comes up with a good reason why she doesn't vote? My God. I am I am betwixt and between with this situation. And it's been going on now for 3 weeks since I found out. And I sit across from her at the dinner table and like this, but I know I can't do that because it'll just chase her away. So I'm living with a lie too because I need to confront this, but I'm lying to myself saying that it's not the time because I'm a coward. Comes with my daughter, you know. If I had my daughter first, I would never have had my 6 boys. It's a shame that our lie detectors are broken in America. It was one of the things that was instilled with me as a child. You know, if somebody's saying something and it doesn't sound right, it probably isn't. If somebody's trying to repeat themselves on the same thing, they're trying to sell it to themselves as well as you. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment. I really enjoy your comments. Share this, please. It's really important to me that we get the word out. We have to, it's too late to do anything about the election, but we need people to understand why and how and where this country's going in the next 6 months. And it all starts on election eve and the next day when they report all the numbers, how people are going to react. I hope and pray that they just, you know, they're so pacified, America is, that they won't do anything. But got a feeling that people are going to revolt, whatever side wins. I think there's going to be angry people, and I think the left resorts to demonstrations and burning cities and looting, and the right resorts to much worse. Well, Josh, this has been one of those conversations. This actually started at Dunkin' Donuts and went on for 2 hours on my back porch while we burned cigars and watched the dog run around the backyard after squirrels. We don't live big lives here. We live very small lives. We have to find ways of entertaining ourselves.
How did the idea of lies get brought up?
Because Benny said, "Is anybody else tired of being lied to?" That was his one statement. He hadn't even opened up his coffee yet. He just sat down. And that's his opening statement. And we have this 8 minute rule. So he took his 8 minutes. And then I think it was Art or Dave. I forget. Oh no, it was Art. Anyway, he did his 8 minutes and he was very convincing about the number of lies. And you got to understand that most of these guys they're not the most educated, but they're all thinkers. They're all people that have life experience. They're all over 65. They've all lived through this stuff. They didn't read it in a book. And when they speak and they contain themselves 8 minutes, you get a clear, concise picture of what they see. I wish these guys would allow me to videotape this, but they're older guys and they don't want anything to do with the internet or social media. They think that it's the worst thing that's ever happened to us. And you can't convince them that it's not because they are, every time something comes up, it's worse than the last time. So it reinforces their opinion. Why am I on this? Because, honest with you, nobody's listening to me. I speak, I talk, I present, but I'm always got the feeling that everybody's on their telephone, texting, or whatever. I don't think I am getting through to anybody. But I figure if it's recorded, you know, in the year 3025, when they find a laptop somewhere buried that still works, somebody might listen to this. Because I know you're not listening, because you're going to go to the polling place and vote for whomever you choose. And then you're going to go back to your job or your family or your whatever it is that you do in this new world. And what are you going to do? Sit there passively waiting for the side that didn't win to react? Because you know the media is not going to tell you, they're going to lie to you. By the time you realize that the shit hit the fan, it's going to be too late. Late. Once again, like, subscribe, comment, share. Support St. Jude and Aortic Hope. These are good organizations. Aortic Hope opened a lot of doors for me that I had closed. I didn't know that people with aortic disease could actually be entertaining and funny and wonderful insights, and all these people who had their previous life destroyed like I did rebuilt their lives and have new lives, or they continued in their old lives somewhat diminished but more enthusiastic. I thank God for me finding that, and I could take credit for it, but it was actually my wife. You know, the one that's on the contract, green eyes, red hair, Irish witch that she is. She fits right in at Halloween. Josh, as always, thank you. You are the Wizard of Oz. You make this possible because, like today, barely made it on air. Yesterday, I slept through the whole thing. I'm old. I've got to get a better system. According to my interns, they're putting together a clock with a reminder system that is programmed. Isn't that something? Never knew that existed. But they say they have them and they ordered one. So I smelled my credit card burning, so I knew that they did it. St. Jude takes care of kids since 1951. Man, I love you guys. Each and every one of you. God's blessings. Stay safe. Fact check the lies. If you're even a little bit concerned, fact check it. Stay safe. Understand that you don't know what's going to happen after the election, and I don't. I don't want you to think I have a magical ball, but the truth is we don't know what's going to happen. And unless you take your own responsibility for yourself, I would worry about you. Josh, thanks again. I appreciate each and every one of you. I like your comments, and good night.